Kosmika. Hello everybody. Hi pages. How's everyone doing? 皆様ページたちごきげんよう。元気でしょうか? Been trying to 3-star this late game thing for the past 3 hours. Oh! Well, good luck. I hope you get it. That's a long time to be working at it. Hope you had a good weekend. My weekend was okay, thank you. I hope you all had a lovely weekend. I wanted to start stream earlier, but I made the mistake of grinding, well, not grinding, but farming for mats on Genshin earlier today, and it made me tired. Farming for mats is definitely something that takes a lot out of me because I really don't enjoy doing it. It's a pain. But I did manage to I did manage to finish leveling my Freedom sword. So my Animo Traveler is practically perfect. Practically, I say, because not crowned. And the Freedom Sworn Sword is only rank 0. But very good, very good. This is my first characters that I've been able to like get everything to where I want it to be. And it's like what, 4 years later, 5 years later. Anyway, that's Genshin talk. Hello, hope you're doing well. We're back with more Final Fantasy for the After Years today. We're gonna be doing more of what we did last time. We're gonna be trying to progress, but leveling in the leveling while doing so because everything hurts here. Skirt comes out tomorrow, yeah. My Primo gems are not ready. I haven't recovered from Escoffier. But I am looking forward to story and lore. I should probably not do any of it until we do our stream so that you guys can see my reaction. So I'll hold off on doing that. Okay, let's see. Let me turn down the in-game music a little bit, because we are going to be watching some and reacting to stuff while we're doing this. I don't think there has been anything yet, but I will double check to see if anyone shared anything since last time that we can watch together. Nope, that's okay. I did come across a channel earlier to actually yesterday, day before, of a couple that lives in Japan. One of those, you know, foreigners in Japan vlog type channels. I had like seen like a video or two before from that channel. Was it Meg and Ben? Hold on, let me find it. Mainly known for Meg, who was an English teacher in Japan, which is what a lot of people end up doing there, at least like to start with. The video that was recommended to me caught my attention because it was they had an interesting thumbnail. It was she quit, I guess they quit their job, or she quit her job, but like it was a good job that she quit for some reason. And then I just finished watching the video. I thought it was interesting. So maybe I'll find something else on their channel. Well, I'll see if there's something new. I'm a little invested in what they're doing now. Essentially, after she realized how much being an English teacher in Japan sucks, basically. You really have to love it in order to, you know, be happy being an English teacher in Japan, especially with certain programs. Like the biggest or the most well-known program is called JET. But a lot of people, you know, they have like this, they have this perception that it's going to be this magical thing where they get to live and work in Japan, like, you know, the dream, you know. But it doesn't. It turns out to be nothing that they expect. Meg and Ben. Megan and Ben. My mistake. It's Megan and Ben. Let's see. Let's see if there's an update. No, that's the most recent one. Quit again. Life after quitting my dream job in Japan. And turns out they ended up joining Geeks Plus, which is the agency that is behind Trash Taste and Sea Dog VA and those people. So I'm glad that they were able to make it work. They all, you know, they were having a hard time. They were like struggling financially. But glad it worked out for them. Okay, if there's nothing new from them, I'm also debating maybe having us like watch a movie on the side as well. It would have to be a movie that I've seen already. Cause I'll be focusing on the game so I don't die. Let's see, what do we have? Oh, there's a Nintendo Direct for Donkey Kong Bonanza. I don't know, Disney movie? Yeah, that'd be the most likely option. A Disney movie. I really don't. I don't know if I'm in the minority, but I really don't like the new like look and personality. I don't know about personality, but the new Donkey Kong, like the old school looking Donkey Kong. I prefer the Donkey Kong Country Donkey Kong. So when like they announced Donkey Kong Bonanza and like they showed the trailer, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this. I don't like it. I much prefer Donkey Kong Country Donkey Kong. Reminds me of Donkey Kong 64 when it was more goofy. The gameplay looks really good. I just don't know. I just don't like how they changed Donkey Kong himself. Hello. Oh yeah, and there's all the drama with I just saw a video here. New Paimon voices here. Plus Ether and Lumine are back in 5.8. Yeah, I've been hearing like all sorts of stuff in the Genshin community. It doesn't really affect me because I play with Japanese voices, but I've been seeing like all the stuff with like, you know, the English voice actors. I should play while I'm talking, I guess. There's been so much drama because of the whole like SAG-AFTRA thing. And I know that a lot of people are not fans of the actor who was who voiced Paimon. She's been voicing Paimon since very, very early on. I don't know if she was the first one or the starting one. But she's been voicing Paimon for like the majority of the game so far. Oh, great. Oh gosh. Okay, I gotta focus because this is a blue dragon. cover problem actually. I don't know if a tornado will work. Oh gosh. Oh boy. Blah blah blah. Stop it. Can we raise somebody? No, why must I use Ice Storm so much? Okay, bye. What, did that do any damage? What the heck? Okay, oh, this is over. It's over. Kane, leave! Is it a full moon? Is that why? It's like, oh, that blue dragon hurts. I'm like 3 patches behind. I need to do the last arc of Natlan. I'm gonna run away. The Natlan story gets pretty epic. The entirety of it was a little bit rushed. And there was a huge lack of world building in the Archon quest, which I think is the main problem that most people have, but like didn't really articulate very well, in my opinion. I think a lot of people just are not very good at articulating what they mean. They just say, "Oh, it's bad." Okay, why is it bad? It was bad. Okay, can you explain? It sucked. Okay, you know. I enjoyed the Natlan story, but I did have, you know, my critiques of certain things. Like I guess I don't know if it was, I know those people it's bad because I don't know if this was their intention or if they were just like rushing to get like the story like into the game. A lot of people complain that like cutscenes and stuff take a long time, and I don't have an issue with that because I love watching cutscenes because I'm big into story. And so I'm wondering if they made like an I just lost the word. Like an intentional choice of taking out the world building of the nation and shoving it all into like the tribal quests and stuff like that, and world quests, which they did with other nations before, but not as much, like not nearly as much. Like they made that, like, so there are the tribe quests, which are supposed to be like the reputation quests, but they essentially put like all of the tribes the world building regarding each tribe in those tribe quests, which isn't a bad thing, but a lot of it should have been put into the Archon quest, because when you start the Natlan Archon quest, like the very big start of it, it's just from the get-go, you're like, let's go, this is happening, oh, we gotta do this, oh, we gotta do that, I don't know who you are, but I'm gonna do this, I have no idea what your guys' story is, but I gotta take care of this, you know? That's how I felt. Like, I wanted to learn a little bit more about the people and then their story, how they ended up where they you know, where they are. We got a little bit of that, but it was very rushed. And you don't really get I feel like you don't get enough of the history in a cohesive way. And they in that one developer video that they uploaded, you know, admitted that that essentially happened. I liked how the word choices had actual consequences. Oh, yeah. That was really good. In all fairness, all Hoyo games have long dialogue scenes, but so do Nikke and Fago. Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. The problem with a lot of people... I don't know. I don't know. While I do enjoy long, you know, cutscenes and dialogue and stuff, I will admit that they sometimes do drag on a little bit, and like they could be a little bit more concise or just spread things out more. I don't know. Like sometimes it feels like they wax poetic about certain things that's not super necessary. You're amazing and your voice is one. I don't feel like it today. Well, I mean, not that I ever think that yeah, anyway. But yeah, regardless, I do think the Natlan story does wrap up very well. And the story after, when you go back to Mondstadt, it was so good. It was so good. They are trying to hit the word limit for theirs. I think maybe like they could work on the pacing a little bit for those long, you know, cutscenes. Like, I know that they're trying to like explain things, but they don't have to take their time saying it. I don't know. Maybe it's just like maybe it's also like a localization thing. Like in like the original Chinese, they need that time to like express like very complex things, and then when they translate it to like Japanese or English, it feels like it takes I also have an issue with the way that English is the way it's translated into English a lot of the times, because there's like a lot of like nuance that gets well, to be fair, I also don't know how much that gets changed between Chinese and Japanese. I feel like Chinese and Japanese are like there's not much lost there. Like it's like easy to translate concepts. Obviously the grammar and stuff like that is extremely different, but like yeah, concepts and ideas it's not as difficult to translate from Chinese to Japanese as it would be for translating from Chinese to English. Like it's a very, very different from what I've come to notice. And like there's lots of like idioms and stuff that don't translate at all between Chinese and English. Or just like even like ways of thinking or sense of humor. Well, maybe less so sense of humor. That's kind of universal in a way. Well, kind of. I was very, very kind of. But yeah. Oh no, you were one enemy away from 3 stars. Keep going, you can do it. Keep going, keep going. Okay, so hopefully we don't get we need to get to a point where we aren't just being slaughtered by a blue dragon every time. Because what is it, a waxing moon? Yeah. But yeah, there's like that whole thing with the voice actors. Like, so a lot of people don't like or haven't liked Paimon's voice actor because she's actually not a very good person. I don't know the details of like most of the stuff she's said and done, but they were never good. Like, one thing I do know about is like when this whole thing was going on where they couldn't, you know, work on any projects because of the issues with the contracts. She essentially weaponized her health condition to like get people's sympathy. Like she was making it about herself, you know, like I feel for people that, you know, are dealing with, you know, a serious health condition, but she's also said some really nasty things about certain groups of people, if that gives any clue to what kind of person she is. Oh, no, shoot. I mean, I should probably get Kane out. Ay. Yeah. Oh shoot, oh shoot. Dad! Oh wait, they're weak to thunder. The guys. The goblins. Stop it! Stop it! Oh my gosh, stop it. He's gonna die. Does tornado work? Probably not. No, not bad breath. Oh, there he goes. Okay, I'll get him up. Staying in the first room there helps with leveling along with level bands. Otherwise, the dragons are the tougher enemies in the area. High damage and bands help. Yeah, my intention isn't strictly to just level. That's why I'm not just staying here. I am trying to get like through the dungeon, but I'm trying to do both at the same time, if that makes sense. But it's true that I should be using bands. It's true. I keep forgetting about those. Okay, let's swap out Theodore for Edge. Okay. Okay, let me find something to put on screen for us to watch / listen to. Spirited Away Feast. I really need to watch Spirited Away. Wait, hold on. Okay. That's another marathon that I wanted to get through. Ghibli movies. We watched La Puta together. List of Ghibli works. Yeah, Castle in the Sky. We watched that together. Oh, next would be My Neighbor Totoro. Oh, that's gonna be a good experience because I've only watched that. I watched that a long time ago, and I watched it dubbed. I haven't seen it in with Japanese voices, so that'll be a very different experience, actually. Just saw Princess Mononoke finally. It was good. Don't think it was worth the hype. It was still very good. Really, yeah. I haven't watched that one yet either. But I know that is a well received, but others are more popular. People hype up Princess Mononoke. There is like a certain group of people that love Princess Mononoke. They probably just like that type of movie or that type of anime, or that's like one of the only Ghibli movies they've seen. So Kiki remains to be my favorite. I still haven't watched that one either. After Totoro would be Grave of the Fireflies. I don't know if I want to watch that because that's so depressing. It's very sad, actually. Very sad. Very sad. It's very sad. Kiki's Delivery Service would be after that. I haven't watched that one. The only ones I should just say the ones I have watched. So I've watched we watched Castle in the Sky, My Neighbor Totoro, Grave of the Fireflies. Let's see. Howl's Moving Castle. I love Howl's Moving Castle. Ponyo. Yeah, those are the ones I've only ones I've watched. So yeah, I haven't watched like a lot of the big ones like Kiki's Delivery Service, Spirited Away. I think actually those are the two other big ones that people love. You seen all the ones I haven't? Oh, interesting. Yeah, I haven't watched Kiki's Delivery Service. There's one called Only Yesterday. Oh, okay. Porco Rosso, Pompoko, Whisper of the Heart, Princess Mononoke, My Neighbors the Yamadas, Spirited Away, The Cat Returns, Tales from Earthsea, Arrietty, From Up on Poppy Hill, The Wind Rises, The Tale of the Princess Kaguya, When Marnie Was There, The Red Turtle, and The Boy and the Heron. The Boy and the Heron was from 2023. Yeah. I'm definitely down to rewatch like My Neighbor Totoro and Howl's Moving Castle and Ponyo, but not Grave of the Fireflies. I do recommend watching it because because it is a good movie, and it gives a very human portrayal of that time in Japan's history, especially from like the point of view of a child. But if you do watch it, keep in mind that the boy that the movie is about, it's actually based on a true story, if you didn't know. The man who he the boy that they based the movie off of, you know, obviously he's grown. I don't know if he's still alive actually, but the man, he didn't like the way they changed the story a little bit. I won't say how. He didn't like the movie because of a big thing that they changed in the story. I won't say what. So that's something to keep in mind if you decide to watch it. Let's see. First class breakfast. Oh yeah, this one was recommended last time. First class breakfast on the RMS Titanic. This is only interesting to me because I know someone who is a huge Titanic nerd. And like, so I know more than like the common person about the Titanic because they are such a huge, they love the Titanic. And just like yeah, Titanic the ship. Yeah. And the real one. Obviously there's the one from the movie. The movie's a movie. But they're actually more concerned about like the ship itself. Like he's a total nerd about like the ship itself. He knows like every single detail, like how many like decks it has and how many I forgot what those things are called on top of ships, like those, they're like steam chimney thingies. I forgot what they're called. So they are Titanic otaku. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. And also like other big ships. It sounds weird, but they're really into like those types of disasters with, no, not mast, like those, like they look like chimneys, like those round cylindrical things on the top of ships. Of not classic, you know, like pirate ships, but like more modern ships. Like the Titanic was a more modern ship, right? Exhaust ports. It was. I remember them calling it something else, but it's essentially like kind of that. So yeah, anything that I come across that's related to the Titanic, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of interested because I've been so exposed to so much of it. Let's watch this. Funnel. Thank you. Yeah, that's what it was. Funnel. And in like the grand staircase in the dining room, like like they know like every detail of it. So like when there's like a game or a movie that involves the Titanic and they get it wrong, they get so mad. And they're like, that's not what it was. That's not how it was. That it didn't look like that. Namely, this one game, oh shoot, what's it called? 999? There's this one visual novel game, mystery game, that's based on like takes place on like what was supposed to be the Titanic, but it gets like really weird. Like there's like supernatural stuff going on. But like yeah, everything, so much about the Titanic is wrong in that game. Okay, let me get sound going. And I've learned like what types of like, I don't remember the exact details, but I've learned essentially like the types of foods that people would eat depending on which class they were, like what class passenger they were. Like first class people would obviously get like the super fancy like multi-course meals, Like second class would get like a pretty good meal. Third class, they would get like super basic stuff, you know. 9 hours, 9 personas, 9 doors. Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah. That one. Zero Escape the Nonary Games.
Several dishes from the last dinners.
Oops.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Last year, I recreated several dishes from the last dinners aboard the Titanic.
Ew.
But I completely neglected the most important meal of the day, breakfast. So today, I am recreating a first-class breakfast aboard the Titanic. So, my tastorians, I ask you,
are you ready to go back to Titanic?
This time on Tasting History.
Oh, tasting history? That means they have other stuff. I'm interested.
First-class meals aboard the Titanic were opulent and plentiful. Dinner could be up to 11 courses if you considered the post-dessert fruit and cheese a course, which I do, of course. And while breakfast wasn't as regimented or as robust as dinner, there was still a lot of food on offer. The menu presented had dozens of options, and you could order whatever you liked. Personally, I've decided on a first-class breakfast of baked apples, smoked salmon, shirred eggs, buckwheat cakes with black currant
those are
syrup and
apples.
Oxford marmalade, and a bit of watercress at the end to aid in digestion. Now, there are no actual recipes from Titanic, but we do know that, especially for the first class, much of the food
I'm a fan.
was
I
based
especially love the
on the recipes of Auguste
Funirimpa?
Escoffier.
I'm
One
not
of his
familiar.
greatest cookbooks, Le Guide Culinaire, has recipes for most of the dinner and lunch menu, but fewer recipes for breakfast. But he does have one for the baked apples, as well as one that describes how to present the smoked salmon. For that, he
Ooh.
says to cut in very thin slices,
dance.
trim, roll into cornets, and arrange on a dish with a little parsley. Super easy, and his baked apples are pretty simple as well. He just says to core them, leaving a bit of core at the very bottom, and then cut a thin line through the skin around the middle of the apples, then set them in a tray, and fill the center of each with a mixture of butter and castor sugar. Add a little water to the tray, and cook the apples gently in the oven. So take 4 tablespoons of softened butter and beat in a half cup of superfine sugar for the filling. Another contemporary recipe from Fanny Farmer actually says that that is all that you need in the fall. But towards spring, they become somewhat tasteless, and spice is an improvement. So she suggests adding a half teaspoon of cinnamon as well, and as Titanic sailed in the spring, that is what I did. Then fill the apples with the filling, then pour some boiling water into the dish, just enough to cover the bottom, and set the apples in the oven at 375 Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius for about an hour or until they're nice and soft but not mushy. Now, Escoffier does not have recipes for either the buckwheat cakes or the shirred eggs, but luckily Fanny Farmer, whose cookbook was selling off the charts when the Titanic sailed, does have recipes for those, so that's who I'm going to look to for those recipes. And speaking of cookbooks flying off the shelves, my cookbook comes out in 1 month, and my publisher is sending me on a book
this video's
tour.
from 2 years ago,
If you are
so it already
inclined
came out.
to have your cookbook signed, then come on down and hang out for a while. So the cities that I'm currently going to are LA, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and Phoenix, but hopefully more cities will be added soon, so I will definitely keep you up to date with how that's going. But for now, I will put links in the description to where you can sign up for those cities right now. Now, Fanny Farmer's buckwheat cakes are very similar to modern pancakes, but yeasted. So instead of using baking powder to give them a rise, they use yeast. So to make these, you'll need 2 cups or 475 milliliters of milk, and then scald it. Then pour it over 1/3 of a cup of breadcrumbs and let it soak for 30 minutes. Then once the mixture has had time to cool, add in a half teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of dried yeast and stir until dissolved. Then add in the buckwheat flour. Now, Fanny is not specific on exactly how much buckwheat to add. She just says add buckwheat to make a batter thin enough to pour. For me, that was about a cup. Then cover the batter.
I feel like a lot of old cookbook recipe or old recipes are like that. They're very vague about like what
so
they.
Stir in 1 tablespoon of molasses, then pour a bit of
They don't
the
give
batter
exact
onto
measurements
a hot
for everything.
griddle over medium heat, and let them cook for about a minute to a minute and a half before flipping them over and letting them cook for another minute. And you can make them any size that you want, but the larger they are, the harder they are to flip. Now, the last thing we have to make is the shirred eggs, but before we do so, I wanted to point out a couple of interesting little things that are on this menu for breakfast from the Titanic. First, there's a typo. The word marmalade is spelled marmalade, And the mistake was not replicated on the second class menu, so I like to imagine that the typo was actually very much on purpose. A passive-aggressive action taken by the steward who had to spend the days working with the first class, who I assume are rather insufferable on the Titanic, and yeah. I have no evidence to back that up, but that's what I like to imagine. Second interesting thing is the date, April 11th, 1912. And that's different from most of the menus that we have, which are from April 14th, the day that the Titanic hit an iceberg. And once you hit the like button and subscribe to Tasting History, I'm going to let you know why that is.
Time for history.
Numerous menus survive from the Titanic, and most of them are from the day of the sinking because people were still carrying them in their jacket pockets when they were taken out of the ocean and saved by the Carpathia. So for third class, we have the entire day because the entire day's meals were laid out on one menu. But for first and second class, different menus were printed for different meals, so most of what we have are from dinner that night, and then we have a few from luncheon that day. But they'd likely left their breakfast menus in their staterooms, which are now at the bottom of the Atlantic. So both the first and second class breakfast menus that survived are actually from Thursday, April 11th, because that was the day at 11:30 a.m. that Titanic arrived at Queenstown, Ireland, its last stop before heading to New York. There, RMS Titanic, being a Royal Mail ship, took on a lot of mail destined for America. But there were also a few pieces of mail that got off. These were the last postcards and letters that passengers aboard Titanic ever sent to their loved ones. And a few of them included little souvenirs, some of which were the menus from breakfast that they had had that morning. And what's cool is that besides the menus, this is really the only time that we get a glimpse into the passenger experience aboard the Titanic without the taint of the events that would
just
happen
a dab of
few
X
days
with
later.
a spoon? What
Like
kind
one
of spoon?
from
How much is it?
20-year-old
Yeah,
Alfred
yeah, exactly
Newman, who had
that.
actually
Things like that
purchased
change
a
everything about the taste
second-class
and texture.
ticket.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
he complained about his cabin, and as people complaining often get, he got upgraded up to first class. So he was able to send a giddy postcard to his mother from Queenstown. Dear Mother, I am so happy being first class. I already know some nice people. A Diamond King, Mr. Astor, one of the wealthiest Americans, is on board. 1,000 kisses, Alfred. A less giddy letter was sent to a friend by eminent American painter, writer, and curmudgeon, Francis Miller. Queer lot of people on this ship. There are a number of obnoxious, ostentatious American women. The scourge of any place they infest, and worse on shipboard than anywhere. Many of them carry tiny dogs and lead husbands around like pet lambs. And he wasn't wrong. There were a number of first-class ladies who did bring their little dogs with them. There were actually 12 dogs on board, most of whom spent their days in the kennel on F deck, though 4 of the smaller dogs would stay in the cabins with their owners. Now, 3 of these dogs being kept in the cabins were the only dogs to survive the sinking, and even then, in one case of the Pomeranian lady, she was only able to get onto a lifeboat because her owner wrapped her up like a baby, and the crew member thought it was a little baby she was carrying. I have a child! And supposedly, when saved by the Carpathia, those crew members didn't want at least one of the dogs to come aboard, but luckily, all 3 dogs did get off the lifeboats and onto the Carpathia and survived. But the 4th dog, Frou-Frou, who did stay in a cabin, he did not survive because his owner, Helen Bishop, later wrote, "The loss of my little dog hurt me very much. I will not forget how he dragged on my clothes. He so wanted to accompany me." But there would be little sympathy for a woman carrying a dog in her arms.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
Women and children to be saved.
She should have at least
There's
tried.
a sad story, the veracity of which is somewhat suspect, of Anne Elizabeth Isham. Now, she had gotten into
She didn't care about her dog enough.
And the lifeboat was ready to go down when she got out to go to the kennel to save what in most stories is a Great Dane. And she never made it back to the lifeboats. And whether or not it's true, again, suspect, but it is true that she is one of only 5 female first-class passengers to have died on the Titanic. Now, if one did decide to bring a dog on board, they had to pay.
Of course.
You basically had to buy a ticket at a lower price for your animal. There was even a 25-penny fee paid for a canary that sailed from Southampton to Cherbourg and got off at Cherbourg, surviving the Titanic. Now, whether or not you had a dog or a canary with you, if you were an early riser, you could have tea and scones brought to your stateroom, but for most, mealtime was served from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. But where you enjoyed your breakfast was very much up to you. In the first-class dining room, over 550 passengers can dine at the same time, and a feature of the room is the arrangement of the recessed bays, where family and other parties can dine together in semi-privacy. And hopefully you had thought ahead and decided where you wanted to sit before you boarded. But passengers who have not previously arranged for seats at table to be reserved should apply for same to the second steward. Children are not entitled to seats in the saloon unless full fare is paid. Now, if you wanted something a little more elite, you could take your breakfast in the a la carte
There's no healer in this group, I just realized.
Now,
Oh
meals
no.
at the a la carte restaurant were not included in the
rely
price
on
of your
items.
ticket, breakfast costing an additional 3 shillings. But the food and experience were supposed to be exquisite, and more importantly, exclusive, because you did have to have reservations made ahead of time. As Lady Duff Gordon said, fancy strawberries in April, and in mid-ocean, the whole thing is positively uncanny. Why, you would think you were at the Ritz. And many passengers did refer to the a la carte restaurant as the Ritz. But if the Ritz was still a little too public for you, or if you'd simply had too much brandy in the smoking room the night before,
I've seen that
and
room
just
so
couldn't
many
be bothered
times.
to drag yourself down to the dining saloon, you could take a full breakfast in your room. Or if you had one of the 2 deluxe parlor suites on B deck, like Rose from Titanic, you could dine on your own private promenade deck. One thing that made this possible aboard Titanic was the advent of these silver plate food warmers, along with hot water sleeves that would kind of go around the food trays to keep things warm, similar to those insulated bags your pizza comes in when you order delivery. And if you were dining in your room, you'd likely be ordering from the menu that we are using today. And that menu, along with all of the menus, would have been put together by the chief first-class steward, Andrew Latimer, along with the chefs on board. Now, we obviously know about the dishes that we are making today, but there are a few other things on the menu that I kind of want to point out. First, Quaker Oats and puffed rice, both of which were made by the Quaker Oats Company, an executive of which, Walter Donald Douglas, was traveling aboard Titanic. I can only assume that when he saw his company's product on the menu, he would feel obliged to order it as long as he had room after eating all of the meat that was provided on this menu. Grilled mutton, kidneys and bacon, grilled ham, sausage, sirloin steak, mutton chops, and of course, lamb collards.
Muffin
Slices of meat, in this case lamb, that was served with sort of brown gravy and mushrooms very often, but there are different ways to make collops. Also, in England, the Monday before Lent is known as
Donald
Collop
Douglas?
Monday.
I don't know.
And that's a day that everybody would eat
If he did, I missed it.
collops. Though I prefer the following day, which is Pancake Day. Thank you very much. Other breakfast options were eggs made most any way, as well as potatoes, mashed, sautéed, or jacket, that is, baked potatoes. And for bread, which there was plenty of, you could have scones, cornbread, or Vienna or graham rolls. And Vienna rolls were only called that in England. Most other places called them Kaisersemmel or Kaiser rolls, and that's because the design on them looked like the Kaiser's crown. They can be made in all sorts of ways, but the shape is really the important thing. And today, usually they're quite large, and we eat them for sandwiches or hamburgers. But most of the older recipes that I was looking at call for rather small, tight buns, like meant for breakfast. There you go. Now, graham rolls were also on the smaller side and were made of graham flour, which today is mostly just used for graham crackers. And all of these would have been baked daily aboard Titanic by the chief baker, Charles Joffin, and his team of bakers. And I did a whole video on him and how he survived by getting drunk and then riding the stern down, again, alongside Rose from the movie. Now, to accompany the bread, you had the options of black currant conserve, basically jam, Oxford marmalade, sometimes written as marmalade, at least on the menu, and that was, on the ship, it was Frank Cooper's Oxford marmalade, and you can actually still buy that today. I did. What I did not buy was the Narbonne honey. The real Narbonne honey, which is made in a specific region in southern France. It's a white honey. It's supposed to be wonderful, but it's really, really expensive. I found it for like $70 for a little jar like that, so one day I'll get it, but not today. And while $70 for a jar of honey is a little out of my budget range right now, it'd be nothing
this
if
robot
you were,
going
say,
to go
worth
down?
$1 billion, like the only Spanish couple in first class, Victor Peñasco and Maria Josefa Peñasco, Pepita to her family. And while their story really has nothing to do with breakfast other than the fact that they would have eaten it while aboard the ship, I really wanted to tell their story because I think it's fascinating and it's definitely one of the lesser known stories from the Titanic, so please indulge me. The couple were married in December of 1910, and this was followed by a year-long honeymoon traveling around the capitals of Europe while they waited for their mansion in Madrid to be readied for them. Now, they did stay in Europe the entire time because Victor's mother, who lived in Madrid, who was footing the bill for most of the trip, told them that they could not get on a ship to cross the ocean as it was bad luck to do so on a honeymoon.
Does no damage
But
to
when
that.
the couple found themselves in Paris in early 1912, advertisements for Titanic were plastered
Running out of
all over
push
the
is super
city.
fast this
And
way,
the
though.
allure of riding on the ship of dreams, the unsinkable Titanic to New York City was just too much, and so they did book passage. But how to tell Mama? Well, they didn't. See, Maria Josefa's maid would go along with them, but Victor's butler was to stay in Paris along with a stack of pre-written postcards. Postcards from Paris telling about all of the wonderful romantic adventures that they were having. Then the butler could send these periodically to Victor's mother to keep her in the dark. So
do the
with their
next
plan in
slot, but
motion,
that's okay.
they boarded Titanic at Cherbourg. Now, the couple, who spoke little to no English, were nonetheless a hit. A fellow first-class passenger wrote, "The little Spanish bride and her husband were just like little canaries. They were so loving and were having such a happy honeymoon that everyone on the Titanic became interested in them." Well, after enjoying a lavish dinner in the first-class dining saloon on the night of April 14th, the couple went back to their room to ready for bed, while Fermina, their maid, was in her cabin mending a corset. And while she was doing her needlework, she felt a slight vibration, and then the engine stopped. And so she decided to go to her employer's cabin and see if they had felt anything. People were starting to stir out in the corridor, and even though the staff told them that there was nothing to worry about, Victor, who was still dressed, decided to go up onto the boat deck just to check it out. When he went up there, he saw crew members readying the lifeboats. So he immediately went back down to his cabin and told both of the ladies to get dressed and head on up. Now, when they arrived up on deck, the band, which had been playing at their dinner just a couple hours earlier, had come out onto the boat deck to play some upbeat music to alleviate the worries of anxious passengers. And Victor tried to figure out exactly what was going on and how to get them to a lifeboat, but he didn't really know English, and so it was very confused. And frankly, even if you did know English, the entire situation was very confused. Luckily, the nearby Countess of Ross, who knew some French, was able to lead them through the crowd to Lifeboat 8. Of course, at this time, it was still very much women and children first, and so Victor knew that he could not accompany his wife into the lifeboat. So he embraced her and then, in Spanish, said, "Pepita, may you be very happy." And he put his wife and her maid into the lifeboat with the Countess and stepped back onto the deck. And then he watched as lifeboat number 8, which was less than half full, lowered into the sea.
Oh, the whole thing
Countess
with
of
the
Ross, who
lifeboats
took
was so
control of the
frustrating when
tiller
I
in
learned
the
about it.
lifeboat, later wrote, "Then Senora Desatore Peñasco began to scream for her husband. It was too horrible. I left the tiller to my cousin and slipped down beside her to be of what comfort I could. Poor woman. Her sobs tore our hearts, and her moans were unspeakable in their sadness. When the awful end came, I tried my best to keep the Spanish woman from hearing the agonizing sound of distress. They seemed to continue forever, although it could not have been more than 10 minutes until the silence of a lonely sea dropped down. The indescribable loneliness,
very slow
the
and fast at the
ghastliness
same
of our
time.
feelings can never be told." But it was actually after
Not
the
enough
sinking
boats. They thought
that
the ship
two
was
more
invincible.
tragic
Yeah,
events
yeah.
took
And
place.
also,
First, the butler did not know of his
they were not
employer's
properly
fate,
trained
and so
when it came to
continued
like dealing with the
send
lifeboats that they did
postcards
have.
that
Because
had
they would
these
like only
fictitious
they didn't fill up
stories
all of them for some
their
reason. They were like,
wonderful
oh, I
life
can only
and
hold this many
honeymoon
people,
and
but it
romantic
could help hold
adventures
a lot more
in
people.
Paris. We would send these to his mother, and even weeks after his mother found out that her son was dead, postcards kept coming in the mail. The second tragedy
There's
was
also
that,
a historical
according to
theory
Spanish
that
law
suggests
at
if the
time,
Titanic didn't sink,
without a
we'd
body,
get involved in the war much
Victor
sooner.
could not be
Interesting.
declared dead for 20 years. That would put his wife in her 40s before she could get any inheritance of hers or his, or until she could remarry.
They're berserk.
So Victor's family did what I think any of us would have done, and bribed someone who was part of the effort to get the bodies out of the Atlantic. It was all happening in Canada, and they basically found a body that hadn't been identified and paid someone to let the maid go and identify that body as Victor. This allowed Maria Josefa to remarry a few years later, and her maid actually stayed with her throughout the rest of their lives pretty much, and they both lived long and happy lives. And I just love these little stories from that event, and that's why I keep returning to Titanic. All through my life I keep returning to Titanic, but that's why I'm returning to it here on the show, just for one episode right now. But if you're not sick of Titanic, then maybe I'll do it once or twice a year. A lot of food, a lot of stories from Titanic to cover. Or if there are any other topics that you want me to cover, any events that you want me to talk about, I will gladly add those to the list. But for now, it's time to make some shirred eggs. So the recipe for shirred eggs that I'm using comes from Fanny Farmer, and she says to mix some melted butter with breadcrumbs. Then line the bottom of a ramekin with a bit of the breadcrumbs. She also says you can actually scoop out a tomato and line the bottom of that with breadcrumbs. Either way, gently slip 1 or 2 broken eggs into the cup, then sprinkle with salt and pepper, cover with buttered crumbs, and bake. I put them in the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 Celsius for about 15 minutes, but it's gonna kind of depend on the eggs and what they're in, so you're just looking for a slight wobble. Then we add that to the rest of our breakfast, and here we are. A first-class breakfast aboard the RMS Titanic. So I'm just gonna kind of go in order of the menu, so I'm gonna start with the baked apple. Let's try it. I mean, oh God, that's good.
Oh.
What is not to like? It is apple and
Oh, I
sugar
thought he was
and
eating the
butter
egg.
and cinnamon. It's basically, it tastes like an apple pie without any crust. And now I just wish I had made like a dozen of these.
Mmm.
That's wonderful, and I could eat that for breakfast every day. And for these smoked salmon cornets, I love smoked salmon. What's not to like? It's delicious, nice and cold. I like it when it's very cold. Yeah, fantastic. Now, unfortunately, the next thing I should eat is the shirred eggs, but I tried them right as they came out of the oven because she says to eat them right when they come out. So I figured I would try them. And it turns out my, at one time, very mild allergy to egg whites has become a not so mild allergy to egg whites. And I'm not going to put myself through that again. So I'm not going to try it. Suffice it to say, they were creamy and kind of had a wonderful crunch from the breadcrumbs, and then my mouth swelled up, so I couldn't eat anymore. But they were fantastic. Not entirely sure how I'm going to tackle things going forward because, well, I was planning on doing deviled eggs soon, but maybe I can just eat the inside. I don't know. And it's weird because if it's like baked in a cake, it's fine, but when it's just the egg white, bad things happen.
That's
so
very
instead, I'm going to
interesting.
move right to the buckwheat cakes. And traditionally, these would be served with syrup, but I want to just try it without anything just to get the flavor because they look very different than a normal pancake. They taste very different from a normal pancake. Buckwheat is such a healthy flavor.
Healthy flavor. I can imagine exactly what he means.
Sourness from the yeast that rose overnight, and so I would definitely make these with I would just use regular flour. I don't like buckwheat flour all that much. It's just such a strong flavor. It would take a lot of syrup to kind of overcome that. But I know some people that really love it. So if you love it, then make buckwheat cakes. Now I do also want to try both the black currant conserve and the vintage Oxford marmalade. And this is actually the brand that they had on the ship.
Oh, wow.
This one is not, but this is the brand that they had on the ship, and you can get it still as, and it says vintage Oxford marmalade. They have different types. The vintage kind, it's much darker than modern marmalade tends to be. Here I can, well, you can see the color, but it's very dark, and it's very bitter.
That's very bitter.
At first it's like really sweet, but then it becomes bitter, and it's the bitterness that stays in your mouth. And I wish it was the other way around. It was like bitter and oh, then it's pleasantly sweet. It's the other way around. So it kind of becomes a little bit of a punishment in my eyes at the end. But this, on the other hand, I mean, I could have that on bread. 3 meals a day. Fantastic. The seeds definitely get caught in your teeth. Yeah, they're gonna be there all day now, but that was just a little bit too. But it's so good. It has this slight, what I associate with medicine, like a medicinal flavor, but in the best of possible ways. I don't mean that in a bad way at all.
I made it this far for the first
It's more
time.
of like it recalls medicine,
Oh gosh.
but delicious. Now, at the very end of the meal, they would have some watercress. It was thought at the time, and I think it still is, to help with digestion, and it was very popular. Tastes like watercress, you know, kind of a wonderfully earthy green. I don't know how they would have had it, but I think just plain. Sometimes they would put in a salad in other recipes, but I think here it would just be plain. It's interesting. There's also like a spiciness to it. That took a second. So overall, everything was delicious, but the baked apple kind of takes the cake or the pie. For me, you should definitely make that one.
Sorry, I'm like looking at the
else,
walkthrough. I'm
wonderful,
not trying. I'm trying not
smoked
to
salmon and
interrupt the
everything,
video.
Yeah, the baked apple, definitely make that. It's really easy. And I am hoping that that recipe, along with many others from the show, will very soon be up on my new website, which isn't up yet, but will be very soon. It will be tastinghistory.com, and I am making it through the help of Squarespace, who is sponsoring this video. Building a website with Squarespace is astonishingly easy. It is dynamic, and you can basically make anything that you want with their many, many tools. And they have tons of options to make your site more robust, like their powerful blogging tools and their e-commerce extensions that help manage inventory and promote products. And to help connect directly with your audience, which is so important, they have email campaign tools and the ability to create gated, members-only content to help you generate additional revenue. So if you are looking to build a new website or just to retool an existing one, check out squarespace.com/tastinghistory and get a free trial plus 10% off of your first purchase of a website or a domain. And I will see you next time on Tasting History.
Oh, I thought there would be more like actual cooking. He did a lot more talking than cooking. That's okay though. That was really interesting. I'm depressed because of the dogs, but let me focus on this first. Any D&D food recipes? Oh, I'm sure there are. I can look for that next. It's really tough, actually, not having an actual healer. I mean, Tsukinoa can heal, but, like, only so much, because he runs out of MP super fast. He's not a true healer. I'm blanking out. Oh my gosh, okay. Aye. Can you stop? Ah, he keeps missing. Finally. Okay, let's see. D&D. There's no music playing on this floor, by the way. If nothing's broken. D&D recipes. Is the Dungeons and Dragons cookbook any good? There's a cookbook? Oh. Which Hero's Feast appetizer is the best? Dungeons and Dragons cookbook. I made real potions from Dungeons and Dragons 5e. Best snacks. No, that's not. Trying recipes from every fantasy cookbook I own. Hero's Feast D&D cookbook recipe. Bangers and Smash. Oh, she only made that one. Okay. So, okay. You know, yeah, I guess the first one looks like it covers multiple dishes.
This video is sponsored.
I think there's a guy who buys themed books and cooks some of the recipes. Oh, okay. You did it? Oh, yay, finally. Wow, 4.5 hours. Spite really got you through that. I mean, that dude is cracked if he could make healing potions or even a potion of speed. Pretty sure they're just cocktails.
This video is sponsored by Skillshare. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons before, but I've always really wanted to. The idea of being transported to a fantastical world and being able to have that creative freedom to dictate your own adventure sounds like a good time to me. I just never grew up with folks that know how to play the game, so I just played other games instead. Nowadays, cooking is my creative outlet, but there's no reason we still can't add a D&D twist to it. Let's make this culinary fantasy into reality with Dungeons and Dragons Hero's Feast, the official D&D cookbook. Dungeons & Dragons Hero's Feast, the official D&D cookbook by Kyle Newman, John Peterson, and Michael Whitwer, takes us into the world of D&D with a look through many culinary creations in its fictional universe. The 80 recipes in this cookbook draw inspiration from the notable dishes, ingredients, and recipes
Oh my gosh, stop
mentioned
killing
in the D&D
everybody!
books. The core campaign worlds that inspired the food in this cookbook include Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk, Eberron, and Dragonlance, with mention of other smaller worlds and locations. The authors of this cookbook are the same folks that worked on the Dungeons & Dragons Art and Arcana book, which is a visual history of Dungeons & Dragons, so I'm sure they've taken a lot of their experience with D&D lore and have applied it to the description section.
Are you kidding me?
Even though I haven't played any of the D&D games, I still like the flavor text for the recipes as they give some good insights into the world and made me curious about the different cultures and locales. The food photos are really well staged with that medieval high fantasy look and feel, and there are plenty of cool little props used that help set the stage and tell a story. There are a few recipes though that for some reason show an environmental photo rather than the food itself, which is kinda weird and in my opinion a wasted opportunity to show the food, but fortunately that only happens very few times. My favorite visuals in the cookbook though are the transition pages. The book is divided into main chapters that represent the most common races in D&D, and the chapter titles are these gorgeous full spread illustrations. I love all the artwork in this cookbook. There are even these full spread fictional menus that are super interesting.
There's an elevator there too. I was so worried I had to go back.
And it's fun to imagine how these menu items look and taste like. The recipe structure of the dishes are pretty straightforward. It's just the ingredients list and recipe steps. Unlike most of my other cookbooks, the recipes here don't offer any additional details such as recipe difficulty, prep and cook time, serving size, or dietary details, so you're gonna have to give each recipe a closer read and make that guess for yourself. In terms of difficulty, I think this cookbook is more on the intermediate side. The food look really good, but that also means they look a little bit more laborious, so if you're new to cooking, then a lot of these recipes might look intimidating. I would probably recommend something else for beginner cooks, but if you're up for the challenge and you want to make something truly worthy of a hero's feast, then this is for you. Alright, let's roll the dice and test our luck with these dishes and go on a cooking adventure with this 3-course D&D inspired meal. But first I want to talk about the video sponsor, Skillshare. I'm sure you've already heard by now of the many design, production, writing, and web development classes that Skillshare offers, but did you know that you can also learn about cooking? I was so bummed when my dough didn't rise for the Star Wars cookbook video, so I started taking Julia Tershin's class on easy and versatile baking. It was super easy to use and it was great to follow along as I learn and practice at the same time, and what do you know, my dough actually rose this time. What's really cool is that you can also see the end result of what the other folks in the community have shared. Some people were experimenting with their own flavors, and that inspired me to make my own mango passion fruit twist to my jam buns. So if you want to learn new skills or master old ones, give Skillshare a try. The first 1,000 of my viewers to sign up through my link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. Back to cooking. The first recipe I want to try is the Ved bread, a savory dinner bread that was popularized in Karnath that features mushrooms and Ved cheese. We're going to start off by making the filling. In a food processor, put in around 12 ounces of roughly chopped up creamy mushrooms
I went to let
pulse
Dog
that
go in.
for about 8 1-second pulses until the mushrooms are fine. Now in a skillet, melt 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter over medium heat. Add 2 finely chopped shallots and cook those for about 2 minutes
What
until
the heck
soft.
did time?
Then add in the mushrooms along with a quarter teaspoon of salt.
I can't run.
Raise the heat to medium-high and cook until you cook off the water from the mushrooms. About 9 to 12 minutes according to the cookbook, but I don't think my mushrooms were that liquidy, so I stopped at 5. After that, add in a teaspoon of finely chopped fresh thyme and cool that for about a minute until fragrant. Then remove it from the heat and add in a quarter cup of grated Parmesan and mix it all together. Add some salt and pepper to taste, then spread it on a plate and just let it cool down to room temp. Time for the dough. In a large bowl, mix together 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour with 1 tablespoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of sugar, and half a teaspoon of salt.
Cutscene time. Theodore. What's wrong? I don't know who's saying this. Okay, I figured it was Kane. Kane. Doesn't having Cecil back make you happy at all? Of course. I'm overjoyed. It's just that, well... Just that... Having a world leader as a father would be a heavy burden to bear for anyone. Huh? My father was a dragoon himself. The Dragoons of Beren once formed the most prestigious of all armed divisions. Until the Red Wings were formed, that is. I idolized the Dragoons since childhood, but I hated my strict and unrelenting father. Do you hate Cecil, Theodore? No. Good. That means you too will come to understand eventually. What happened to your father, Kane? He's gone. He died when I was about the same age you are, actually. We have to stop this moon. Yes. Rose overheard. Thank you, King. Ooh, double jump band. Oh. Edward, are you serious? Deadly serious. I know I heard it. We're a great distance away from our home planet, you know. King Edward, can you hear us? That voice. There's no doubt about it. That's the Chancellor of Damsian. Your voice! Thank heavens! I finally can hear your voice. It's a really good band, I imagine so. How are things going down there? Terrible. Simply terrible. We are enshrouded in deep darkness. The wind and waters are raging. Oh no. Have you heard anything from the other nations? I fear we are no longer able to do so much as set foot outside our own castle. What? We must work faster than ever now. That voice. Is that King Cecil? Yes, the one and only. He's regained his senses? I apologize for all I have wrought. I couldn't have made it back without all of your support. That is fantastic news! If King Cecil is with you, the moon is as good as gone. I'm sorry, but can you hold out just a little longer? We need you to stay strong. By all means, my lord. You have nothing to worry about with us. But my lord, please take care of yourself. Damsian could hardly exist without your stout leadership. Thank you. Be safe, everyone. Yes, my lord. Hope we can make it in time. We must, no matter what happens. That's what you came here to accomplish, after all. Certainly, certainly. Think about this, however. Why has the whisper weed suddenly begun to work again? What? Is it because the moon... Indeed. It means this moon has come that close to reaching our homeland. No! So I have no time to lose. Let's go. Okay, let's switch people out. I think everyone is 49 now, yeah? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Ah! Oh no. Can't do anything. It's not prepared for that. Okay. I should bring in an actual healer into the party. So I'm gonna swap out Gecko for Rosa. And Sukino for Rydia. Because Sukino should be in the front. Okay, let me resume the video.
Salt. Once mixed, add in about 6 ounces of grated Gruyere cheese and combine. In a separate bowl, whisk together 3/4 cup of cold buttermilk along with 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter that's been melted and cooled. Then add this wet mixture into the dry mixture and combine everything until you get a sticky, chunky dough. On a floured surface, start kneading your dough until it holds together and is mostly smooth, but don't
They hurt
overknead
so
it.
much.
That Skillshare that I took definitely came
Can't
in
see the
handy for
video?
this
Oh,
recipe.
sorry.
Roll it out and try your best to flatten it to a roughly 12 by 18 inch rectangle. Then spread the mushroom filling as evenly as possible over the dough. Roll the dough tightly and evenly, and then cut the roll into about 1.25 inch thick pieces. Line them up on a parchment paper lined baking sheet about 2 inches apart. Lastly, in a small bowl, beat an egg with a teaspoon of water to make an egg wash. Brush that over all the sides of the buns and then bake those in the oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for about 18 minutes according to the cookbook. Mine actually took a bit longer to brown, so I did mine for 25. Serve your buns warm or at room temp.
Character.
The cookbook also suggests an optional brushing of truffle oil if you have.
What's the point?
You're ready to enjoy your fresh baked veg bread.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go back to that first
now
floor.
we travel to the
There's
Dwarven
no way.
Forges to try some of their smoked sausages and kraut with dwarven mustard. According to the cookbook, this recipe is forged and handed down by the dwarf father god Moradin himself. I don't know who that is, but he sounds badass. In a large pot, warm 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil over medium-low heat, then add in 1 finely chopped yellow onion. The cookbook said to cook that for about 15 minutes until caramelized. I'm not used to caramelizing onions, so even though it smells nice and caramelizing, I'm pretty sure I burnt these. But I'm not going to let these burnt onions just go to waste, so we're pushing through. Add the cubed pieces of 1 large apple, a teaspoon of sugar, 4 cups of drained and squeezed sauerkraut, 1.5 cups of water, half a teaspoon of salt, and a few grinds of pepper. You can also add an optional teaspoon of juniper berries, but I couldn't find any, so I left it out. Cover this up and cook for 25 to 35 minutes until the apple is soft. While we're waiting on that, take a saucepan and heat up 2 cups of dark beer and bring that to a simmer. Then add in 6 smoked sausages such as kielbasa's or bratwursts. Poke some holes with a fork and warm those through for about 5 to 10 minutes. To make the dwarven mustard, combine together in a small bowl half a cup of stone ground mustard and a 1/4 cup of sour cream. Now let's plate it by placing a bed of that sauerkraut mixture on a plate. Place the sausages on top, and if you want, you can spoon some of the warm beer over it. Serve it with the dwarven mustard, and you're ready for your hearty dwarven meal.
That looks very dwarven.
For the end of our meal, we travel to the land of the elves to try a dessert appropriately named Meal's End. According to the cookbook, elves are not known for their desserts, but they like this because it's quick and easy. In a bowl, mix 3 cups of chopped berries with some sugar to taste. I used 2 cups of roughly chopped strawberries and 1 cup of blackberries, but the book also suggests you can use blueberries or even cubed persimmons. I think raspberries would also work really well here. Now with a stand mixer and a whisk attachment, beat 1 1/3 cups of heavy cream on high speed for about 1.5 minutes until it's softly
I think I
whipped,
might actually
and
need
add
to
a
stay up
tablespoon of
here
sugar once
until I
it's
get to
thickened.
55.
Then add in 1/3 cup of Greek yogurt or creme fraiche and a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla and
There's
fold
just
those
the
in
dragons
gently.
are just too
Then
much.
add in the chopped berries as well as 2 ounces of crumbled chocolate or vanilla meringues and fold those in as well. The cookbook says to eat this fast because the texture of the meringues will soften quick. I'm just going to add some more berries and meringues on top to make it look pretty, and that's what we're having for the meal's end. Okay, let's
it's not
eat
pretty,
all
but
of
it
this
does look
before the meringues
tasty.
get soggy. First with the vet bread, I love how these turned out. They look so cool and kind of mesmerizing when you look at it. And I love the idea of savory cinnamon rolls. The dough is nice and savory with a hint of saltiness from the cheese. The mushroom filling is great as well. Obviously, it doesn't have that mushroomy pop because it's been pulsed to tiny pieces, but you still get that great umami, earthy flavor. This would be perfect to eat with soups. Next time I would probably add more cheese to see what that's like, but overall, this is a very nice piece of bread to accompany your meal. On to the smoked sausages and kraut. I've made sausages and sauerkraut before, but not to this level. But even the basic
These
ones
dragons
that
are
I've
making
had
me
before,
very,
I really liked, so I'm almost certainly gonna like
demotivated.
these. Sauerkraut was very good. I like the sweet and tart addition of the apples, and I like its soft texture. It goes very well with the cabbage. The sausages were great and juicy.
Are you
the
serious?
beer flavor is really more pronounced.
How are they
in the
attacking so
sauerkraut
fast?
Because I think it sopped it all up when I sprinkled some on. Let's try it with the dwarven mustard. I've never thought about combining mustard with sour cream, but let me tell you, it works. The sour cream kind of mellows out the mustard a little bit, and it just elevates the sauerkraut and sausages. It's even good with the veg bread too. Really good stuff. For dessert, I've been dying to try this meal's end. This dish is pretty much an English dessert called Eton Mess, which I've been wanting to try for forever since I'm a sucker for meringues. And oh my goodness, it's just as heavenly as I imagined. The fluffy cream with the airy crunch of the meringues and the tartness of the berries is a legendary combination. I did notice that the meringues that I've mixed in got kind of soft, but good thing I sprinkled some extra on top. Next time I make this, I probably wouldn't mix the meringues in with the cream. I would just leave them on top so they don't lose their crunch.
Why are they
attacking
so
so fast? It would be really interesting to try other berries and other meringue flavors for this recipe, but this one in particular is a surefire taste bud pleaser. A truly great meal's end. Final verdict for the Dungeons and Dragons Heroes Feast: dependable and delicious.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up here. I'm kind of done right now. Okay. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Tomorrow, hopefully nothing goes wrong. And I should be able to start at the usual time that I would like to. 3 dragons in a row will do that. Yeah. But I am seeing why the guide says to reach level 55 because everything. This is essentially like the same thing that happened when we started this last chapter. We had to grind because everything just kills you. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. We're just gonna have to grind for a while until we hit 55, so that way we can actually survive the monsters here. So yeah, please feel free to share any videos that you would like to have us watch together, react to together. In the Discord, we have a special, we have a specific channel for that. It's called Watch React Suggestions. So if you come up with anything by the time we start, well, even actually during stream tomorrow, drop the link in there, or even in chat is fine as well. But yeah, that is no other updates or anything. Yeah. But as usual, if anything does come up, I will let you know. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the stream. Please leave a comment if you would like to share your thoughts. Please subscribe on YouTube and or follow on Twitch if you'd like to see more Final Fantasy streams. And if you're going to bed, I hope you rest well and have sweet dreams. If your day is just getting started, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I hope to see you all again tomorrow for more Final Fantasy IV After Years. The After Years. Ta-ta! Otsumika!